8 inches of fat droppings piled up past the ceiling joist. Fat turf just dropping everywhere, just going crazy.
They'll get your life back to normal. Lonnie with Restore It Restoration.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Service Guys podcast. I'm producer Ruel Abadam, and with me is your service professional and mine, Lonnie Beecham. And today on this episode, we have a very special guest, Andy Schrieber from Pure Vitamin Club and Pure Coffee Club. Everybody's online, and everybody.
Yeah, we're here.
And NSNG Lifestyle too.
Yes, NSNG Lifestyle, which is not really the parent company, but it's all kind of one big umbrella.
Gotcha. So
Awesome.
Andy, I wanted to have you on because you are an E-list celebrity with a cult following. You're famous. I feel honored just being, in the voice presence of you.
Oh, please. Yeah. I'm just a guy trying to build some businesses here.
I agree with Lonnie. I'm on an alley in San Francisco. I am bowing to the virtual presence of Andy right now.
Wow. Well, it's an honor to be with you guys.
Well, Andy, so tell us, I've known you for, 6 years? We met for the first time 5 years ago, or maybe 6 years ago.
5. Yeah, it's been a while.
And when we first met, we all were just kind of feeling each other out and just going like, who's this stranger? And obviously with you being, internet celebrity famous, I felt like I knew you. It's kind of like when you meet your TV announcer person, for the 6 o'clock news, you feel like you know them, but they don't know who you are. So I know a little bit about your background. You met a mutual friend of ours back 20, 30 years ago at the Playboy Mansion.
It was actually the Playboy offices. Yeah, that we're talking about Vinnie Tortorich, my best friend and business partner. We have known each other since November 1991.
Oh, wow. You all fell in love right away. You remembered the month and everything.
Yeah, well, I had just started working at Playboy, and Vinny came in, and it's like, who's this goofball? And we just became friends, like, immediately.
And that's how you become friends.
Cool.
You just wonder who a goofball is, and then suddenly you're
yeah, we just started chatting, and we hit it off, and we went to lunch, and he was asking me some questions. He was brand new in LA and kind of feeling his way around, and I had a background in marketing and sales, and so he was kind of picking my brain, and we became fast friends pretty quickly.
And you fast forward 20 some years, and you two decided, kind of the crux of why we're talking today, you two decided to go into business together. And I have to let the listeners know, in full disclosure, I'm a subscriber to both Pure Coffee Club and Pure Vitamin Club. It's the best stuff I've ever seen out there.
Well, thank you.
And speaking of which, that reminds me, I need to place another order for the vitamin D. I ran out. So.
All right. Well, we'll take care of that anytime.
Oh, yeah. So fast forward, like I said, you two decided to start a vitamin company, a supplement company, and now coffee. And so what's a day in Andy Schrieber's life look like? What do you do every day besides get online and rant and rant on Facebook?
Yeah, I do that a little bit too. But no, look, when we started putting this thing together. It's now like 5 years ago, but we launched, we're actually coming up on our anniversary. We launched Pure Vitamin Club on October 2nd, 2014. So we're coming up on 4 years that we've been in business. And look, it's really different than it was then. We started this thing on the slimmest of shoestrings, and it was just Vinny and me. We had the idea. We did the research. We did the background. We worked with some experts to hone in and refine our one formula. That was just all we had at that time was our multivitamin called the Daily Multicap, and we launched it. with relatively little fanfare on a subscription basis. And I was working a full-time job because I, had to put food on the table and a roof over my head. So I was trying to squeeze all that in and, just working around the clock to hold down my full-time job because I wasn't making any money on Pure Vitamin Club yet. It took a while. Now, fast forward to 4 years, I've got several people here working full-time in our office. We've got our distribution facility, which is down in San Diego County. And we've got a kind of a slew of various consultants. So we've got our digital marketing consultant who handles all of our email campaigns and other online initiatives. We have our social media marketing consultant who helps us put together our strategy for coordinating what we do with our Facebook and Instagram and Twitter accounts and YouTube, building up our YouTube channels. We've got our Amazon consultants who help us build that business. And we've got we're starting to do some advertising. We started a few months ago doing some advertising on Facebook. Facebook has some really interesting campaigns where you can target people based on their, first of all, on any history they have with you as a company, but then also on people's kind of buying habits and interest and based on, the kind of thing that they look at. So we're able to pretty well target the kind of audience that we want with advertising for our products. And now starting, and I don't think you guys even know this yet, but starting in first quarter 2019, we're going to start doing some targeted cable television advertising.
Oh, really? In your markets or in the big city markets? I mean, because
that is still a decision-making process that is ongoing. We're working with a media company. These won't be national spots because we don't have that kind of a budget. But we're gonna. It'll be like 6 or 7 markets, major markets. We're not going to do, like Dothan, Alabama. We're going to do some. Nothing wrong with Dothan, Alabama. Anybody out there? We're just trying to maximize. Have
you been to Dothan? I have.
I have not been.
It's not a town I want to go to.
I've got nothing against it. I pulled that name out of the air because I used to, years and years ago, I was in advertising sales, and so I was familiar with all of the the media markets, and that's one of the kind of the smaller ones. So that's why I kind of pulled that one out.
Sure.
So back to your question, on a daily basis, I've got our little office here, and Dylan and Andy, the other Andy, the 2 guys that work here full time. And the first thing we do in the morning is we catch up on all of our customer support because that is super important to us. So overnight, whatever customer support emails have come in, Dylan handles most of those now. He's been really, really well trained. He does a great job with that. I've
spoken to him a time or two. What few issues I've ever had where it was on my side, not your side, it was on my side.
And it doesn't matter on the customer side or our side. Whatever it is, we'll handle it. So Dylan does that. If he's not sure about something or has to get authorization from me to handle it in a certain way, then he does because he sits I'm looking about 10 feet away from me. And then we've got, any kind of 800 number calls that we get, because we get a fair amount of those. It's not ringing all day, but we do get a handful of those. And we tend to get more in the morning because that's when people, first think of it, they're getting their day going. So we handle all that stuff. We look at the reports and see what anything else that's going on scheduled for that day in terms of our operations. I check our inventories. I check, see that everything is working properly, and then there's always something going on. I'm doing my accounting for month end or whatever time of the month it is that we've got to kind of handle that stuff. I look at I always devote a little bit of time every day to research, because we're always working on new products. We're looking at new places to promote. We're looking at right now, we're looking for events to sponsor. That's another new initiative of ours, is to, particularly around our electrolyte product, the Ultrasol.
Sure.
We're looking at kind of endurance events, marathons, ultra marathons, triathlons, anything where people really need those electrolytes, because they're expending a tremendous amount of energy and frankly just sweating up a storm. So we're looking at those opportunities. We've done a few already, and those have been really great for us. So the rest of it is just kind of a management issue, looking at everything that we're doing, planning out our social media calendar and writing that stuff, writing blog posts, whatever else we have to get out there and communicate. I've been working for a while now, and it's always something to get our European operation going. We're working on an Asian operation. So I've got work to do there and phone calls to make. So every day is a little bit different, but it always has those components of, checking in on the customer support issues, and then research.
And knowing you, I've watched a little bit of your UK dilemma. That sounded like a nightmare, just getting open in the UK and Europe. I mean,
it's just been unbelievable. If you are a U.S.-based company, and keep in mind, we actually opened and registered officially a U.K. company with the U.K. governing body. It's called Companies House. That's the government agency that where you register your business. So we are officially incorporated in the United Kingdom as Pure Vitamin Club UK Limited. We've done that. We are registered with the tax authorities. It's their version of the IRS is called HMRC, which stands for Her Majesty's Revenue and Collections. We're registered with them. We have an account with them. We have there's something called VAT registration, the value added tax, because it's like sales tax. They do that differently. You don't pay that on top of it. It's built into the price of everything. So you've got to have that account. Sure. All that stuff is done. Then it was, how do we get, even with a UK company, when the directors of the company are not UK based, it took us a year to get a bank account. And
wow.
That was not to get a loan or a line of credit or a credit card, nothing. All we wanted was a bank where we could put money in and transact business. And that took a year, because every bank had some different level of regulation that made it impossible if you weren't a UK resident. So wow. We finally got that done. Then if you're transacting e-commerce, anybody out there who has an e-commerce site will know this, you need, if it's a kind of an automated shopping cart system, you need what's called a payment gateway. That's where when somebody places an order on your site, you have to verify their credit card. So that third party, it's called a payment gateway. They authorize the credit card. They run that credit thing. And once it's authorized, they shoot that back then to your site. It gives you an okay on the sale. And then they also, they shoot that information over to your merchant bank. Sometimes a payment gateway is consolidated with the merchant account. Sometimes it's separate. And that merchant account is what actually fronts you the money. So say you buy something from our site and you pay $50. The payment gateway verifies that your credit is good for that $50, whether it's your debit card or your credit card. And then it shoots that information to, at the end of the day, the merchant account. The merchant collects all of those for the day. So, say 10 people all paid us $50. That $500, the merchant bank fronts that to us, because somebody's got to collect it from, your credit card is with Chase Bank and Ruel's is with Wells Fargo, whatever. All that money has to get collected. The merchant bank does that. They front the money and send it into our corporate, our company bank account, right? Our business account. And then they collect all the money from Wells Fargo and Chase and whoever. And, for that, they're charging us a fee, right? So every month we pay them a little bit for the pleasure of having them front us the money. So where we are now with the UK, we have the bank account, and it's now the payment gateways. And there are only a handful of those companies that do it. And every last one of them has some different restriction that we don't qualify for. Either it's, you're in the nutritional supplements business, and we don't do that because there's so much fraud in that business. Not us, folks. But there's a lot of.
They don't know you. They don't know you. They don't know us, buddy. You're just you're an application
sector. The whole sector they don't do. Some of them. Others they we won't work with you if you have a third-party distribution. So we're not distributing from our own warehouse. We don't have a warehouse in the UK. We have a contract with a warehouse. They do the distribution. So some of the gateways say, no, we won't work with you if you're doing third-party distribution. Another one says, well, you need to have an actual physical address in the UK, and your business address that's registered is a virtual address. It's like the equivalent of a PO box. That's no good. They all have some reason that it's been difficult.
Wow.
We thought we were there.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, it seems like from just watching and talking and seeing your transactions and listening to you, it seemed like this has been a 2 or 3 year process.
2 years. It's been 2 years.
2 years. So can you ship now? I mean, are you open for business in the United Kingdom?
Yeah, we were almost there. We had a payment gateway. They approved us. They said everything is good. We're sending you the contract. Sign here. Pay us the initiation fee to get on their system. We did all of that, and then they got back to me and said, the bank that underwrites this, because they're the gateway, but they don't actually do the banking. The bank that we work with is doing a major policy review on their whole business. So they've put all new accounts on hold, including yours, even though it's already approved. You got to be kidding me. So we had to go back to another one. So now we're waiting for that one to approve us. I expect to get an approval, but you never know. Everything has been a problem. But we'll get there.
Talking about credit cards and stuff, Andy, kind of reminds me in my business. One time I was doing a mold job for a lady, well-to-do family, and money wasn't the issue, but they wanted. Let's just say she wasn't the smartest person. Very nice, very repeat customer and everything, right? So she wanted to plop down a credit card for $30,000 some, and then she wanted me to just run it on my system. I'm like, yes, I will do that, because she was like, I want points, and I'm trying to get it's like, no, I get it. I said, I get it, but you need to write me a check for 3% of $30,000, because I'm not eating $900 or whatever it is. But I'm not eating $1,000. I can't do that. And she's like, what? And she argued with me for 20 minutes. Like, no, it's free. I'm like, it's free to you, but we absorb it as a business. So everything changes. I mean, I can't get a straight answer from the bank. I mean, is it 2.7% or 3.10 or whatever? So we're just like 3%. Just write me a check for 3%. We'll call it good.
Well, if you gave me $3,000, Lonnie, I'd do my best to eat it.
but listening to your story, Andy, it's kind of sorry. I got guys pulling in here. Listening to your story just kind of reminded me of my experience where somebody once thought it was free. I'm like, no, nothing's free in life. There's nothing free.
Your service was free?
No, she thought my credit card service was free. I'm like, no, it's 3%. It's just safe.
And it depends. If American Express is more expensive than the others.
Right, they're the most, and then Discover, and then Visa and MasterCard about the same. But and I don't remember the card. But so hey, Andy, you know what? We need to slow down a minute. We're talking. We do like old friends. But tell us about Pure Vitamin Club and like why somebody might care about Pure Vitamin and Pure Coffee both.
Exactly, because up until this point, all the listeners are wondering, what is this vitamin coffee that they're talking about? I'm going to Google it.
Separate thing. Let's back up a little bit. Okay, so Pure Vitamin Club. The reason that started, Vinnie, who you know very well, my business partner, is a fitness guy. He's a fitness guru, diet guru, and I use the word guru kind of, ironically, but he is really the man in that field. He's been doing this. He's been a personal trainer before there were personal trainers. He's been doing this for 30 plus years, and he has a degree in this stuff from Tulane University. He's not just one of these trainers who, is a built-up guy who goes into the gym and says, hey, I'm going to be your trainer. This is a guy who's done his, really done his homework, has the background. And he follows, or doesn't follow, he developed a way of eating called NSNG, and that's actually a registered trademark of our company. It stands for No Sugar, No Grains. And that is sort of the backbone of everything we do. It's a way of eating, a way of life where you just simply don't eat sugar or any, artificial type of sugar or anything with sugar or anything sugar-like. So that includes honey and maple syrup and agave syrup, anything that's just sort of trying to artificially sweeten your other food. We stay away from, as well as all grains. That's sort of the backbone. But as part of his, overall approach to fitness, he does believe and always has believed in proper supplementation for various things. A daily multivitamin as the cornerstone, because no matter how well you eat, how well you manage your diet, none of us are getting 100% of the nutrients that we need from our diet. It's just impossible. Our soil is depleted. Our air is depleted. The food that we eat is lacking sorely in some of these things. And so your deficiencies might not be the same as mine. The gaps in your nutrition might not be the same as mine. And it might not be the same today as it is tomorrow. So everybody, we believe, needs a basic daily multivitamin, multi-mineral supplement intended to just fill in all those gaps without overloading you on anything, right? So Vinnie always wanted to do that, but he was very, very careful about what he put into his body, especially after he was diagnosed with leukemia. And, battled that very successfully. And this is now, 10 years since he had the leukemia.
Yeah, 10 or longer, maybe.
It's actually longer. It's 11 years.
Yeah.
So he's been doing great. That's not been an issue, but that, certainly ramped up his sensitivity to the kind of crap that gets put into not just supplement products, but food, everything. There are so many artificial ingredients. So he had always wanted to do a vitamin company since he couldn't find any vitamins that weren't full of all kinds of junk. And building on the success of the book that he wrote, Fitness Confidential, and the podcast that he started, which built a huge audience, he said, well, I've got the wherewithal now. I'm sorry?
And very loyal.
Very, very loyal. Following, he said, I have the wherewithal now to reach enough people, sort of a point of critical mass. I'm going to just, since I can't find vitamins anywhere on the market that I think are decent, we'll just do our own. And Vinnie and I had done a couple businesses in the past together. Some went a little way, some didn't take off at all. But we always agreed that anytime either one of us went into business, we would do it together. So he called me up one day and he says, Andy, we're going into the vitamin business. And I said, okay. Talk to me.
Two guys that know nothing about the pill, the capsules and all that stuff. We didn't
know the first thing about it, but we knew we wanted to do it. We knew how we wanted to do it. And we just set about to do the research and figure it out. And it took us about a year from that first conversation to develop the formulas and get those right, and then figure out how to get them made, because 99% of the manufacturers out there will not do it the way we did. The point being that we wanted no additives, no fillers, no what they call flow agents, which are ingredients they put in specifically to make the ingredients all flow through the machinery better when it's going through the capsulation or tableting process. They put in these, what they call them, flow agents. They're basically like dry lubricants to keep the materials flowing more quickly. It makes the manufacturing cheaper, but it also fills you up with this garbage that actually has adverse health effects. So
yeah, and for the listeners that aren't familiar with Andy and Vinnie and everybody, Andy, I've never told you this, but one of the things that that you did open my eyes to years ago, it's like, so yeah, I've always taken a vitamin. You know, I'm a diabetic. You know, I try to do what I can, you know, through diet, nutrition, and everything, but people that think they take the Centrum one a day or the GNC brand, whatever they have, the, you know, the men's pack, the women's pack, the athlete pack, whatever it is, you know, right. One of the things that you taught me to look for is the inactive ingredients. Right. So we can all read, oh, it's B12, it's this, it's that, it's this and that, but they'll have maybe 10 active ingredients and 80, I'm exaggerating, but like twice as many inactive ingredients in the best vitamin that you can buy out there. And right. Titanium dioxide, you know, I didn't know about it. I mean, actually, I may or may not have told you this one, Andy. I have access to titanium dioxide. We can talk about that, but that's one of the things didn't that kind of spark Vinnie's interest whenever he's looking at, you know, his cancer and,
oh, it's a horrible ingredient. It's a mineral whitener. It's used to make paint white, and it's used in sunscreen to get that really whiteness of a sunscreen. It does not belong in your body, and by any stretch.
And it causes colon cancer and other cancers.
Yeah, there's a difference. I don't know if it causes, so I want to be careful. There's evidence that it can increase your risk, is a safer way of saying that. It's toxic. That I'm very comfortable saying. It is a toxic ingredient. It does not belong in your body, and so many brands use it. It's not funny. And the reason they use it is so stupid is every ingredient in it has some sort of a color naturally. But if and I've seen this when I've gone to, because I go now to all the trade shows for the supplement business, and so I sit in on the panels and I sit in on the seminars and all that, and all these companies have these gigantic, you know, R&D departments, research and development, and they spend a fortune on all this. But part of that research and development is their marketing research, and some marketing genius will say, you know what, our studies show that people prefer this color orange for vitamins. So the natural ingredients here would be a different color. We want to get it more to this color that market research says is good. So they will literally bleach the color out of their ingredients with the titanium dioxide, and then add, and you'll see, this is one of those inactive ingredients you'll see. The most common is gross caramelose sodium, or caramel coloring. It's just artificial coloring. So that's why they do that. But whether somebody ever, and I say this to people all the time, whether you buy our products or not, one thing I will ask everybody to do before you put anything like that in your body, that's any kind of a nutritional supplement, look at the label. There will be in a box a section that says supplement facts. That's where they put the active ingredients, what you're buying it for. Whether it's, you know, B12, and that might be if it's a simple product like a B12, that's going to be the only active ingredient, right? If it's a multivitamin, you might have 25, right? But below that box, there'll be something that says either other ingredients or inactive ingredients, and that's where all that junk is. And that's where you see this long list of, you know, magnesium stearate, which is one of those flow agents, or stearic acid, or gross caramelose sodium, or titanium dioxide, or silica, which are just fillers. Because what a lot of companies do, if you've got a size 4 capsule, which holds, you know, about 1,000 milligrams of product, and your formula only comes out when you add all the different ingredients to 800 milligrams of product, you got to fill up that extra 200 milligrams. So they just put some junk filler in there. They'll put like silica, which is we call it sand, but that's really what it is. It's not like you go get it off the beach, but it's a refined kind of form of sand. Or they'll put talc, which is the same thing, you're putting on your ass, to keep it from getting chapped, right? They'll put all that stuff in there just to fill up the space, instead of figuring out, well, how do we take advantage? We got 1,000 milligrams here. Let's not just put in junk. Let's make sure that we're packing the most into that. That makes sense. We don't want to give you more of a specific vitamin than your body can absorb, because then you're just going to pee it away. But let's really figure out a formula that is going to fill up that capsule. And you know what? If it's only 950 milligrams, and there's a little bit of when you shake it, you can see it's not 100% full. That's okay, because we've given you what you need in there, and we haven't put any of that junk in. It doesn't have to be bursting to the seam. But that's what they do because they think it looks better, right? So I say, sure. Whatever you do, look at the other ingredients. If there are other ingredients in there beyond like the capsule itself, put it away. Don't do it. But then the other thing, and this was a big part of our goal too, is not just excluding all the junk, but what do we put in there? So every supplement, whether you're talking about a B12 or a vitamin D or a vitamin A or a magnesium, they all come in different forms, right? So there are, 15 or so different types of magnesium because most of these things, most vitamins and minerals, they need something to bind onto because they're not stable on their own. So they're bound to a carbon molecule or something else, a methylated molecule. They're bound to something. So you're going to see a bunch of different forms of B12, for example. That's the best example I can give.
And in a dumbed down version, from my understanding, it seems like you either have a natural vitamin, whatever you want to, vitamin or mineral, or you have a synthetic form, right?
Well, not necessarily, because even with synthetics, and sometimes synthetics are often they're as good or better than a natural. It depends on what's in them. It just means that some of them are manufactured by combining the molecules versus just extracting them from food. Because sometimes when you extract them from food, they don't remain stable. They don't hold their efficacy as well. So sometimes natural sources are better, sometimes not. What's more important is what is the absorption rate from them? What are the ingredients that are the molecules that they're bound to, and how do those affect your biology? The B12 is the best example because the two most common forms are something, cobalamin is vitamin B12, and it's bound either to methylated, so it's called methylcobalamin, or it's bound to a cyanide molecule, which is called cyanocobalamin. And the majority of products out there use the cyanocobalamin. Now, cyanide is the same as the poison that we all know of, cyanide. The amount that goes into your vitamin B12 is not enough to poison you, literally, but it's not something you want in your body. You don't want to start putting extra cyanide molecules in there because A, your body recognizes it, even though it's in a tiny amount. Your body recognizes it as a foreign bad subject. Your body is pretty smart. And it says, what the hell is this doing? And your liver, which is your body's filter, essentially. For everything. That is your, like, if you've got a pool and you can think of that big filter, that's what your liver does. So your liver sees this cyanide molecule and it says, hell no, I don't want this. And it has to break it down and eliminate it. It has to separate it out. Your body is so smart. It will separate it out from the cobalamin, and then it eliminates it. But in the process, it weakens the B12 that it's bound to, and it's taxed itself, right? You've made the liver work more than it needs to. So on a couple counts, you're doing yourself damage actually by taking that cyanocobalamin rather than the methylcobalamin. And I can give you examples of that up and down the scale with different vitamins and minerals and aminos and all that. Magnesium is another good example. There are so many different forms of magnesium, and they all work a little bit differently. Anybody who has ever had a colonoscopy knows that what they give you to clean you out the night before they're going to go, spelunking up your back end is magnesium citrate, because magnesium citrate will clean you out, right? A lot of formulas for magnesium, and people might take magnesium because they're having issues with muscle cramping or with sleep. There are a lot of reasons to take magnesium. And they take magnesium citrate and then spend the next, 3 hours on the toilet.
Right.
So not that there is a place for magnesium citrate, and we actually even have a little bit in our magnesium formula, but just a little bit, because that's not what we're using it for. If we wanted to put out a product to compete with companies that are putting out stuff to clean you out before a colonoscopy, we would do it. But we want something for other purposes. So we put a little tiny bit because it does have a benefit. And then we use other kinds of magnesium that will be more stable, will help more with the relaxation. We have, one of the versions in our magnesium actually regulates heart rhythm. So people who have arrhythmia or any of those issues find it really helpful. So those are the two things. You want to look at the form of the actual active ingredients, because there are so many, and understand what those are, and then the inactive. So that's what we did, when we started with just the one product, the daily multi-cap. And it's now 4 years on, and we have 5 products now. We've got the multi-cap, we've got our magnesium, we have a B12, we have a vitamin D plus K, and our newest is our electrolyte product, Ultrasalt.
That's not all, folks. There's also the coffee side. There was a whole lot of...
The coffee side is different. That started just a year ago.
And before we get there, I got a few things to chime in here with, Andy. So being in supplement business and using natural products, have you heard of the it's total? Well, I don't know. You read both sides, and both sides sounds totally real. Have you heard of B17?
B17?
Yes, it's a cancer fighting something other natural that it's illegal to sell in the United States, but you can still get it. And a lot of your quack doctors that are just out there peddling junk will sell it to gullible people, and they think they're going to take this B17 to treat cancer. And the truth is, when you look at the chemistry of it, it's actually a lot of cyanide. And I'm sitting there thinking, so you're trying to treat cancer, but you're taking mass quantities, and it's in big quantities. So it's like a lot of cyanide. I'm thinking, man, that can't be healthy.
No, probably not. I'm looking at can B17. I'll look this up. I'm seeing this most of the buying is a plane. I'm not giving you something to look at selling, because I don't even know if you could sell it, but that's another thing. But we only will get into anything where there is solid science behind it,
and the most bioavailable. We get. You've listened. You listen to Vinnie's and my podcast, so you know some of these stories. But people listening to this might not. But we've actually had a couple of copycats go into the business and use names similar to ours. Right.
Selling all kinds of snake oil type products. So they sell something called keto that's supposed to be some sort of fat loss product, and they're selling the big one that we hear about is what is it called? It's called Vigor XL. I shouldn't even give them a plug, but that's the name of their product, and it's what they call a male enhancement product. So as I understand it, they're, what they try to convince people of is that this is going to make for their male customers, it's going to make them not only
bigger
more
and longer,
but bigger and longer. It's going to actually change the size of their genitalia. So that's the kind of stuff that goes on all the time in the supplement business, and people make these wild claims. And so what this company has done is they use a name similar to ours, and they use packaging even similar to ours. And then I get these phone calls that sometimes I answer, sometimes Dylan does, on our 800 number. It's actually an 866, but same thing.
Right.
Saying, hey, I ordered, I just did a free trial for $4.95, and then all of a sudden I got a bill in the mail for $200. What's the product? It's Vigor XL. Oh, okay. That's not us. And I have to go through that whole song and dance with them. But, I feel really bad and I just had one this morning, but it was for the keto product. I feel bad for these people. They're being ripped off, and people are trying to pass it off to us, and I've had to actually
Sure.
on the phone with somebody's bank to explain to them that it wasn't us. But that stuff goes on all the time in the supplement business, and it's one of the reasons that we've had a difficult time in the UK, because there's so much caution around the business, which is good.
Sure. Well, Andy, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but there is a positive use for titanium dioxide.
I'm sure there is, and in some sort of industrial use. What is it?
Well, I have some products. When I'm in the mold remediation side of my business, there are certain times that we can't get rid of the discoloration or of the mold, or if there's let's say it's going to be a recurring problem. Let's say somebody needs to dig out their front yard, but they just don't have the 10 grand to do it properly. I actually have at my disposal several products that mostly titanium dioxide based, and I can coat your walls with this stuff. And it actually, the good thing about titanium dioxide is it does filter out the air for mold. It captures it. I don't know how to really explain it. I'm not a chemist, but I do know it's in my products that I use in mold remediation, and I could use that in your apartment right now. And it will help filter your air and make your home environment a lot more safe. They also use it in smog. There's a good use for it in smog areas like LA and Japan. And Japan uses it more on their buildings. They'll spray their buildings down to pull and down the smog levels and help control your breathing air.
Yeah.
So it's great for those kind of environments, but I don't know that I'd want it in my body.
Well, that's just it. I mean, there's a good use for Clorox bleach too, if you want to get your clothes white, but you don't want to, take a big swig of it.
Right.
Everything in its place. Speaking of which, this is kind of a little off topic, but I think this is something that a lot of people don't know. In terms of our newest product, the Ultra Salt, which is, for those who aren't familiar with electrolyte replacement, growing up, we all learned, if you're going to be out sweating and exercising, you need your Gatorade, right? And you need to replace your electrolytes, because when you sweat, through your sweat, you're losing salt and minerals and all that. And without that stuff, your body starts to shut down and your muscles don't operate well. So everyone said, I'll take the Gatorade. Well, along with a little bit of salt that's in there, there's also sugar and food coloring and all that. So, better science is to take people call them sometimes a salt tablet or a salt capsule, because your biggest electrolyte is just salt. And salt is actually really good for you in spite of what we learned growing up. But what people don't know about regular table salt, like your Morton salt, or even when you get, kosher salt or sea salt, if your salt is white, when you pour it out of that shaker, if it is white, it got white by being bleached with bleach, okay? That's how they get, because salt in its natural state is not white. If it's
bleached with sodium hyperchlorite. That's what bleach is chemically. It's sodium hyperchlorite.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It is bleached. So if you take natural sea salt, and sea salt is done a couple of ways. If it's actually from the sea, which is what most of what's marketed as sea salt is, they actually just evaporate big vats of seawater, and what's left is the salt, and it's kind of got a grayish. It's not pretty, right? And so then they'll bleach it. The other form of sea salt is from ancient deposits from long since dried up ocean beds, right? So that's when you see like Himalayan pink sea salt. And that salt is pink. If you're finding it in a mine, it's pink. Now, for years, people would mine that salt and then bleach it. Now, where there are mines, people know better to, you don't need to bleach it. And not only do you not need to, but it's much, much better for you because unlike evaporated sea salt, when you get it from these dried up beds in the mines, it has all these trace minerals. So when you look at that salt, not only is it pink instead of white, but it's got flecks of like burgundy and black and other kind of hard to discern little colors. You'll see all those flecks in it, and that's all the magnesium and the selenium and all the other minerals that are in there naturally in trace amounts, which are good for you. So there's the Himalayan pink sea salt, which everybody knows, coming from the Himalayas, which means Pakistan and Afghanistan largely.
Andy?
Yeah?
So is it safe to assume that if I see the $4 thing at my local Kroger or Hy-Vee or whatever, and it's like $4 and it's pink, is it safe to assume that it's true Himalayan pink sea salt, or do they, bastardize it?
They should say if it's real pink, if it's real sea salt, pink sea salt, it's either going to come from the Himalayas or it's going to come from where we get ours for our ultra salt, which is a salt mine in Utah called Redmond Real Salt, which we did a lot of research on this, and it's actually better than the Himalayan for a lot of reasons, but it's very similar, and it comes from the U.S. It's being mined here where people are working in the mine, making a decent living, not working for slave wages in Afghanistan, where they're also, by the way, blast mining, literally exploding it out of the mine, rather than here where they kind of claw it off of the walls. Vinnie and I went to we did a tour of the mine, and we saw it, and we picked up the big rocks from the floor of the mine. I've got one sitting 5 feet away from me. That is literally all they do. They scrape it off of the walls of the mine, and then they grind it. There's nothing else done with the salt. Nothing.
And a lot of trace minerals are there, so Lonnie's brother is at the mine just depositing his minerals.
Pretty much. There are like 60 some odd trace minerals in there. Yeah.
Oh, trace minerals. I thought tray.
No, not trace minerals. No.
Hey, Andy, speaking of Trey, did you know he's getting married?
I did know he was getting married because I met his future father-in-law.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they met in the NSNG singles group.
Yeah, Chick. That which is so amazing. That's so great. And Amber is terrific, and we love Trey. So yeah, Chick came. We had that NSNG meetup.
I haven't met him yet. I'll be meeting him in about 25 days. October 17th, I'll be meeting him.
Yeah, you're going to come out to the wedding. The wedding is up in Seattle, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Bellevue or somewhere like that. I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere out there. Yeah. So where we got way off track.
Sorry, we're just talking as friends. We've all known each other for years. So,
yeah, for years now. The coffee, just to briefly touch on the coffee side. Once we got our the vitamin business kind of up and running, we looked at what else people who follow us were really looking for in their lives, and coffee. If you're eating the NSNG way, coffee is a big beverage for people. People give up sodas other than just like sparkling water, and coffee it's another one of those lies we were all taught growing up. Oh, coffee is bad for you. You need to really limit how much you drink and all that. Coffee is actually a really healthy drink. It's one of the primary sources of antioxidants you can get. There's more antioxidants in a cup of coffee than in a bowl of strawberries or kiwi fruit or bell peppers, all the things that we're told are full
what
of.
What about a Kia berry, or however you say that? That's the magic fruit, right?
Yeah. There's actually more
whatever.
antioxidants in coffee than in almost anything, and it's a really healthy drink for you. It's got some thermogenic properties, which means it helps kind of boost your metabolism. So we thought, you know what, we really like our kind of subscription model. Let's go into the coffee business. And we did that. Again, it took us a full year of research and development to get to the place where we could launch. And we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary because we launched November 2017.
Has it been that long?
Really well. Pure coffee.
I have not tried the double French yet. I thought the house blend tasted like the community coffee that I tasted down in New Orleans.
That is exactly what that is designed to do. Yeah, that is exactly
the purpose
of the house blend. Yeah, the house blend was the one that Vinnie wanted to taste like community coffee, which is the coffee he grew up on.
Right, and that was the first in Kansas City was the first time I tasted it, and that was the first thing I said is, wow, this tastes like community. But he always tells me that it tastes, the double French is supposed to taste more like the community coffee. Is there any chicory? When you think of New Orleans coffee,
no, there's no
kind of think of chicory.
No, we haven't done Vinnie keeps wanting to do that. We'll look at that at some point, adding a chicory formula.
And that's one of those coffees that I can have a cup or two. It's like, I don't know, maybe 3 cups, but chicory tastes good to me. Just to me, it tastes good in small doses, but enough is enough. And I don't know if it's 1 cup or 3 cups. But
it's not my thing, but there is a market for it. People do like it. So no, we have the 4. We have our house blend, which is the one that was designed to be akin to community. We have our athletic blend, which that's really taken off as one of our more popular. And that uses a combination of beans that gives you 55% higher caffeine. So that's what, your little supercharged jolt in the morning. And it's got a really kind of a nutty, chocolatey taste to it. Then we've got our honey process. And that's something that I love it. I love the honey process. That's my favorite. It's for anybody who's never heard of honey process, which most people have not, because it just has not been marketed well in this country at all. Coffee beans are actually the pits of the fruit of the cherry plants. So they look like cherries, and they're called the cherry. And the coffee bean is the pit of that cherry. Now, when they take the fruit off, just like if you eat a cherry, there's like a sticky residue left on the pit, right? In every other form of coffee processing, they completely get rid of that sticky coating on the pit on the bean before they dry it. In the honey process, they leave that sticky coating on and dry it with that on. And what that does, the sugar is not left, but a little bit of that kind of extra sweet brown sugar flavor is stuck to it, and it's baked in when it gets dried and then roasted. So it's a very distinct taste. And I just love it. It's not, I don't want to mislead anybody to think that it's going to taste like it's got brown sugar in there, but you'll notice it on your palate, a little kind of extra sweetness.
Well, Andy, if you remember, I texted you one night, 2, 3, maybe 4 months ago. I don't know. But remember, I texted you, I'm like, hey, I'm sitting here with a coffee snob, and he'd never heard of honey process. And he's talking about doing the bloom, and he takes it to the, he has the real burr grinder. He does it to the nines, right? And pour over and all this stuff. And he'd never heard of honey process. And I texted you, and you sent me a sample. I'm like, hey, I got the snob. Can you send me a sample and get it to him? And he'd never heard of it, and he loves it now.
Yeah. I told, I've got, I don't know if you know this, but I have family. The honey process originated in Costa Rica, and it's still where most honey process comes from. And I've got family in Costa Rica, like a lot of family. I've got a ton of cousins there. Probably, I must have 40 or 50 cousins there. And I was down there last year, and I was having dinner with a couple of them, and I was talking about this. They've lived in Costa Rica their whole lives. They've never heard of honey process.
Really?
It's just not marketed well. So we're actually about to embark on a sort of a marketing campaign to really pump that out, because it's really interesting.
Well, Andy, everybody wants to know. Sorry to interrupt you, but
go ahead.
What about this monkey poop coffee? Have you had it?
I not only have I not had it, but I guarantee you, unless somebody tricks me, I'm never going to do that. It's actually an animal called a civet.
Yeah, a monkey type thing.
Yeah, what they do is they feed the whole cherry to these civets. They eat the cherry and swallow the bean, and then the bean comes out their backside. And it's supposed to do something to the flavor that it's been through among a civet's intestines. And then they sell that coffee at, I don't even know how much, but a fortune.
Oh,
we're talking
crazy! Yeah,
hundreds of dollars, per pound, just a crazy amount of money. And
but think about it, Andy. You'd have to pay me a lot of. I deal with fecal matter in my daily business, but
sure
you have to pay me a lot of money to sift through and rinse it out and collect it, and you'd have to pay me just a lot of money to do that.
Sorry,
I would though. Hey, if you need a one-man guy to sift through monkey poop to get coffee beans, let me know. I'm your guy, but I'm going to charge you a fortune.
Yeah, no, it's not happening. We're not going there. Our fourth coffee that we introduced a few months ago is that double French. That's our dark roast. We had a lot of people wanting a dark roast. The honey process is more of a medium roast. And we're in a couple months we're going to introduce something called the Explorer series.
Ooh,
that's going to be
we're getting secret inside information right here.
Yeah. It's going to be like a coffee of the month club. So if you sign up for the Explorer series, they're all going to be single origins, what they call micro lots, which means they're coming from very small farms who have a very small output. And you get this very limited run of a lot of coffee. And if you sign up, so you're, 1 month it might be from, the Rodriguez farm in Guatemala. And the next month it'll be from another little family farm in, Ethiopia, and the next month from Indonesia. It's all going to be every month like a new adventure. So you get to taste them from single sources from around the world.
1 pound bags or 6
12-ounce bags, like everything else we do. We do 12 ounce and 8 ounce. We'll do on that one. We may not do the 8 ounce. We haven't figured that out yet. We have to figure the economics of it, but it'll be, you can still do monthly or bi-weekly or whatever you want, but the coffee that you get will change every month.
And Andy, I haven't heard much mentioned for, I guess, about a year now. How's the water.org? Is it water.org? How's the fundraising going with the coffee side of it?
That's going great. We'd always like to see more. We did something on our Pure Coffee Club site where you can add to your order up to 50 cents per order as a donation to water.org, which is a fantastic organization. What they do is they go into areas around the world, largely in Africa and Latin America, where communities do not have access to clean water. And they help set up systems so that people can have clean water, not just for drinking, but for irrigation and for washing their clothes and whatever else they need. There are so many communities that do not have access to clean water.
And isn't it crazy, Andy, that you hear these stories that people will walk 4 miles to get to the well? And I always sit there and think, why don't you move closer to the well?
Well, it may be that's where their farm is. That there are all kinds of reasons, and it's not so easy. So that's what they do amazing work in providing access to clean water for some of these communities, which changes the lives entirely of the people that live there. So because our our coffee product, is coming from a lot of those areas in the world. Our primary sources are Africa and Latin America and Southeast Asia. There's that kind of belt around the world where coffee is grown, because it has to be a certain climate. We wanted to, give back in some way. So every penny that gets donated through a contribution on our website, we match. So if you're giving 25 cents or 50 cents, we're kicking that 25 or 50 cents in as well and sending that off to water.org.
Andy, can you don't have to answer this, but what's the most amount that you all have matched in a month on water.org?
It's still fairly small, but it tends to be, a few hundred a month.
Okay.
So, look, an organization like that, every last bit, every dime helps. So, as that business grows, we certainly hope that those numbers increase. And, you're reminding me, and I'm glad you are, because I want to do another promotion to encourage more of our customers.
Well, as a friend and somebody that, knows you and not Andy, Vinnie pretty well. I don't recall hearing much of anything about water.org for a while.
You're absolutely right.
And a while, it seems like a year in my mind, but I could be off. It could be
no, you're absolutely
6 months.
right.
I don't know.
And I'm glad you bring it up, because we need to do a better job at that. And I'm glad you made the suggestion. We're going to do exactly that.
And for the marketing guy, I do see your Pure Vitamin ads on Facebook and stuff. So I'm seeing it, but I'm also, you're spending dollars on me that's quote unquote wasted, because obviously I get shipments every month or whatever. So
that actually doesn't cost us, because the way that advertising works, for anybody who's thinking about doing that kind of advertising, it's called pay-per-click. So we only pay when somebody clicks through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So whenever I do watch the videos, like the last one I recall seeing was on the top, I don't remember what mountain, but Vinnie was on top of some hike in some mountain. I watched his video, and so you paid for my viewing of that.
Not necessarily. If it's just a social media post that we're doing, those are not the advertising campaign. You'll know when it's an ad. It'll look like an ad. It'll say it'll have.
And it says sponsored.
Yeah, if it says sponsored, then that is an ad, and then we pay a few pennies. It's not a lot, but it's based on a per click, because the research tells you that if you have honed your message well, you should have a pretty good click-through rate. So once somebody clicks through, I'm sorry, not a click-through rate, a conversion rate. So once somebody clicks through and watches your ad,
sure,
you really want to look at how many of those convert to sales. So for anybody that's looking at doing that kind of marketing, what you want to do, which we've done and continue to do, is split test. So we'll put out, a handful of different versions of an ad to see which one converts best. And you can tell when you run the metrics after these things run after a few weeks, you can see how, if there's a video attached, and it's a 30-second video, what's the average time people spend actually watching it? Do they turn it off after 5 seconds, or do they watch the whole thing? When do they click through? All that information comes at you when you do that kind of a campaign. And then you can see, in a given month, this campaign cost me X number of dollars for the clicks, and they produced this amount of money in sales. So you can see, if it's been worth it.
And Andy, I've been sitting here thinking, I'm blue collar. I do own a restoration and carpet cleaning company, mold remediation, that sort of thing. But I personally, I don't take the ultra salt every day, because there are some days I'm mostly sitting, doing, estimates and not doing much. But the days that I'm actually out there humping, you Fitbit challenges, I blow people out of the water. I mean, just my average, even in my office days, I'm doing like 12,000 steps. not even trying, you know?
Yeah.
And then you do the flights, you know, the stairs and stuff. People say, oh, I can do 100 flights of stairs in a day, no problem. So those days I do take the ultra salt. You know what I was doing prior to that?
What?
So I know I buy a lot of bottled water. I know plastic's not good for the environment, but you got to survive and you got to live.
That's
and
right.
those, you know, you got to do what you got to do. And those 5-gallon things of that you see on the side of the sports line, those little coolers don't really totally cut it. We don't always have cups. So
That's
I
right.
used to, prior to learning about ultra salt, I used to take that neti pot salt. You know, have you ever done a neti pot?
Yep.
So I would take one of those packets and dump it in that 12 or 16 ounce bottle, and it didn't taste great, but I drank a lot of that. It has sodium bicarbonate and it has sodium chloride. Is it sodium chloride?
Yeah,
Whatever
sodium chloride
salt is. Yeah. So it has some salt and it has some baking soda in it. I used to dump those in my water bottles, and it made a world of difference when you're just exhausted and you're just sweating. On my work days, I sent you a video earlier wearing those suits. They don't let air in or out. Oh, it's hot, and we're just dripping sweat, and everything that I own that I'm wearing is we just wring out sweat, and it's nasty. I mean, it's just how I work, you know. Ultra salt though, I do take it on those days. I keep one in every vehicle because I just don't know. I think I got an office day. Next thing you know, I'm tearing out a basement or something like that. So, but that's one of my little cheap hacks that I used to do was the neti pot salt. And dealing with my environment, I neti pot almost every day.
Yeah, well, you would have to. That's where you sort it up the nose, basically, right?
Right. And I deal with people in my world. They'll have 9 cats. I can smell the cat urine from the street, and they've had water in their basement for 3 hours, and they think they're going to die of mold. It's like, no, you're going to die of histoplasmosis from the cat urine.
Yeah.
That's just reeking out of every pore way before you'll die of mold. And I keep a neti pot at home, and I do that almost daily. And so I'm just telling you. So I'm telling you all this to say this. I don't know how to market to construction guys that work outside, framers and builders and roofers and guys like me, but there is a market there. I just don't know how to see in.
Yeah, I've talked to a number of people who are in professions where they are outdoors, sweating, working hard physically, and who have started taking the ultra salt, and they've said it's changed their lives. Ultra salt is different from all of our other products in that, like with the multivitamin, the whole idea of that is one a day, which is why we started the subscription service, because it just makes it so much easier, and why most of our products.
Andy, can you hear that? That's my ultra salt right there.
Oh, there you go. Ultra salt is a little different because if you're, an ultra athlete or an endurance athlete, or you're in a physical kind of profession like yours where you're doing a lot of sweating, you could go through 8 or 10 of those a day, and then other days really not need any. Some people take it on a daily basis because they have certain dietary needs where they're not getting enough electrolytes in their diet, or they have medical needs where they need it. People who follow a ketogenic diet like NSNG need more salt in their diet. So, we recommend it for that. But we specifically made the one-off price on most of our products. If it's available either as a one-off or subscription, we make the subscription price cheaper because we're trying to incentivize that. With the ultra salt, we've made those one-off or subscription the same price because we want people to know if you have a subscription and you're taking the daily multi-cap, and you're taking our vitamin D, and you're taking whatever else on subscription, you might not be using the ultra salt at the same rate as everything else because you're not using it every day, or you're using 10 a day, whatever it is. So we encourage people to do the one-offs and buy it just when you need it. Or subscribe and buy them one at a time on top of that if you're using more. And that's why we kept it sort of the same price, because we want to just people to not make their lives more difficult by complicating their subscriptions.
Right.
But yeah, the Ultrasalt has been our kind of a bit of a breakout for us, because people
sounds like it.
Yeah, there aren't that many out there. Vitamins, there are a million, and it's even when your product is as different as ours is from everybody else's. Even the so-called high-end, brands that you get from a nutritionist's office or from Whole Foods or something. There are so many of them out there. It was a little tougher at the start to break through, but with the electrolytes, there are only a dozen or so brands really out there, and like 3. So anybody who is into that kind of athletics and takes an electrolyte, you know which ones I'm talking about. I don't need to mention them. And the people that have been using our Ultrasalt all say the same thing, that none of the others compares. Electrolytes are like everything else. There are different versions and different reasons to use those. One of the things that people find with an electrolyte, especially if you're doing something really intense and you're really sweating up a storm, electrolytes can make some people sick to their stomach. And we heard that from a lot of like endurance runners, where they take their electrolytes because they need to, and they're not going to make it through the race if they don't. But they wind up puking halfway through the race from the electrolytes,
and that's not good.
No. So we made our formula to be as stomach friendly as possible by using more alkaline versions that kind of fight the acid, which also helps fight your cramping. So. It's been a really, really incredible response. That's what we're actually going to be promoting on our TV ad campaign. Good.
Well, and Andy, I don't know how you and Ruel are doing on time. I'm okay, but I'm enjoying this. But I want to tell you something for any listeners, especially. My friends are all blue collar. I mean, and we live with a certain amount of back pain and neck pain and knees, and when you work with your back, you
take it out on you.
Yeah. So Sunday, I have no idea what I did, but all of a sudden, as Sunday afternoon, I could barely walk. Uh-oh. And I just want to tell you and your listeners, over the course of Sunday to Monday, I took 12 of your magnesiums, just because I know it has a muscle relaxing qualities to it. Yep. And I just want you to know, I took that knowing that I might end up spending time in the bathroom, but it was just one of those, I couldn't get into the chiropractor. I couldn't get into a massage therapist. I couldn't do nothing like that. But after 12 capsules in 2 days, I never had any loose stools or bathroom issues. I just want you to know that. So
yeah. And
it did help.
Did it help?
It did help. Finally, Tuesday, I got in to see my chiropractor, and that helped. And then yesterday I finally got a massage in, and that helped a lot. But I take 4 magnesiums a day.
I know.
And I have no issues in the bathroom whatsoever.
No.
And
you
sleep like a baby.
Yeah, you won't with ours because we're using so little. It's about 6% of the formula is magnesium citrate. Very, very small. It's the smallest amount of the 4 different magnesium forms that are in our broad spectrum magnesium, for that reason, because sometimes you need to. I take 2 every night because I'm not the world's greatest sleeper, and I find that plus the vitamin D, and I'm good to go for sleep. So I take 2 at night and another one in the morning. If I did that with most magnesium formulas, I'd spend half my day in the bathroom.
Right. Well, I just wanted you to know, friend to friend, like it helped. It did not fix me, but it did help me.
What it's going to do.
I would wake up really stiff and just I couldn't slow down this week at all, and it did help kind of limber me up. It did seem like it did help, but more importantly, I didn't spend. I could work and function. I didn't have to cancel my day to go spend the day in the bathroom.
So for the listeners, for the service folks out there, you could glean that there's some wonderful coffee to be consumed, and that'll get your day going. You can take away that the magnesium help your body relax when you've really beaten it up out on the job. And I love the magnesium. I take it like I imagine crackheads take crack. I just love it so much.
Yeah.
And sometimes I probably don't do my body great service, but my mind sure has a heck of a time when I take the magnesium and I booze up just a little bit. And that just makes me happy.
Yeah, nice. Well, just if we haven't already said this, it's purevitaminclub.com, and the coffee is
and it's not a multi-level marketing.
No.
I tell my friends, I've given samples. I've told my friends, and they'll say, "Oh, I ran out. Can you, I want to order more from you." I'm like, "You're not ordering from me. You just go to purecoffeeclub.com. You can get a one-time shipment or a monthly or 90-day supply, and it's cheaper or the same or cheaper than anything else that you're going to find. And it just shows up, and you just take, if you take the vitamin or the magnesium or the vitamin D or the B12, and just so you know, Andy, there are still some of those B12s out there that don't dissolve under your tongue. It's not as many as that one batch, but there are, out of my 90.
Yeah. And look, that's the nature of the kind of business that we do. Just so people know, we did a version of B12 that's a sublingual, which means you stick it under your tongue and let it dissolve. And we did something revolutionary with that. Is we didn't use any of the usual kind of, in order to make that happen, there's all kinds of chemistry that goes into making that dissolve under your tongue. And that was really difficult for us to do without resorting to all that stuff, because that involves all the nasty toxic chemicals. So we figured out a way to do it.
Sugar and sweeteners.
Binding agents to hold it together, and then dissolving agents to help it dissolve. And we didn't want to do any of that. So we worked really hard to figure out a way to do that using just pressure to hold it together, and using a completely positive, benign kind of a bulking agent to hold the vitamin B12. So we were able to come up with a formula that just uses calcium as the base material, calcium citrate, which is something you would take as an active ingredient instead of a nasty, inactive ingredient, and something called calcium laurate, which is basically calcium bound to lauric acid, which is the fat that you have in coconut oil. So it's basically like calcium and coconut oil, and the B12.
I didn't know that.
And it's held together with pressure. There's a tableting machine, and they press it into that tablet shape, and just enough, ideally, so that it then dissolves under your tongue. And we did one batch where they calibrated the machine a little wrong, and it made it too hard. So people were saying, "Hey, this doesn't dissolve." So we wound up replacing hundreds of bottles for people. The fact of the matter is they were usable, just meant you had to kind of crunch them up a little bit, but you shouldn't have to do that. So we replaced it for anybody, and still will. If anybody says, "Yeah, we got one of that batch that didn't dissolve," we replace it for you. And then since then, the most recent runs that we've done, we have the calibration exactly right now. So if you take one of the new ones, it's perfect. It sits under your tongue for about 12 to 15 seconds, and then it sort of goes poof, and it just all kind of dissolves all at once.
And it's gone.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, as a friend, as a, for your knowledge, out my jar that I have, or bottle that I have now, maybe 10%, I'll have that one that just doesn't quite, and no big deal. I take two, and one will disappear, no problem. One, it's still there, and it's like, I just crunch it and eat it, swallow it. No big deal. So there is still a few out there.
It the right way.
Mm-hmm. So Andy, we're kind of going. You and I, and Ruel's been mostly quiet here, but we're going a little long here. I mean, you're talking to a blue collar damage restoration guy. I mean, have you ever had a question about mold or asbestos or lead or water damage? I mean, I'm giving you an opportunity to just ask me any question.
Yeah, I've been lucky. many issues with mold. There was a place I lived that it was an old building from the 30s, and it had a shower that with no ventilation, kind of an old tile shower. And man, the mold, I could never get rid of the mold in there. Like never. I would bleach it. I would do everything I could, and it would just come right back.
I know what you're talking about.
What do people do with that situation?
That one's tough, and I've never told you my spiel about I hate bleach with a passion. I do have a product that does have some bleach. If I have some staining, and I will spray it on there for a cosmetic look. It serves no purpose. Tell you just for your knowledge and listeners' knowledge, if you think you're going to bleach mold, all you do is discolor. I mean, it will disappear for a minute, but what you do, sodium hypochlorite, actually there's two things going on. Sodium, as you know, is like the first ingredient in salt.
Right.
It attracts moisture. So when contractors, if you get a fly-by-night or a handyman or one of these type of people, we'll just spray some bleach on it and wipe it down and put some kills on it. You're not doing anything. What you're doing with when you put bleach on mold, yes, it will quote unquote disappear, but sodium hypochlorite, actually the sodium molecule attracts moisture out of the air, just out of humidity. And
so you're pounding it in the long run.
And it does two detrimental things. It's attracting moisture, chemistry. I mean, and you can't break chemistry. Chemistry is chemistry.
That's right.
But it also, the hypochlorite stuff actually opens the pores of whatever surface it's on, be it the grout line. There's microscopic pores that you can't see. It actually opens those just a little bit, and it drives the mold spores deeper into the structure.
Well, that's not good.
In full disclosure, I do have a product that does have a sodium hypochlorite base to it. We will use that in you got an area that I can HEPA vacuum it. I can put peroxide on it. I can take a wire wheel and a brush to it, or a drill, and try to remove it. It will bleach out the thing, but then I have to go through extra steps to dry it out.
Right.
So I tell you all that just to let you know. Like, another thing that I don't like are your Clorox wipes or Lysol wipes. They're junk. You get more benefit out of just a wet paper towel with Dawn dish soap than you do a Clorox wipe or a Lysol wipe, or you just change out the names. They're all the same.
Can I apply some Vigor XL to the mold to try and eliminate it?
That's only if you want your walls to be really hard.
There you go. So to answer your question, Andy, in those situations, it's better to crack your window a little bit. And if you don't have an exhaust fan in your home, crack your window just a little bit, and take your shower and let Mother Nature pull it out. Wet goes to dry, and I mean that's one of our sayings that we use in our industry is wet goes to dry, hot goes to cold. So if you got a warm hot shower and it's warmer than the outside air, obviously your water is 110 degrees typically, and you live in LA or West Hollywood, somewhere out there, it stays about 80, 90 year round, right? And so we get
colder.
You get colder and you do get hotter, but generally it's beautiful out there. That's why everybody flocks to Southern California, because 9 out of 10 days you're going to have a beautiful, gorgeous day.
Yeah.
So if you ever move into another place that doesn't have ventilation, just crack your window just a little bit. When you're done, leave your bathroom door open. Just let your your air conditioning system just do its thing and pull it out, and that'll do you way better than pouring bleach on it and camouflaging it. And one thing I always tell all my customers is, if you think about your shower, Andy, wherever you live, we all live in the same house, basically.
Yeah.
They're all different sizes and shapes, but the structure is the same. So everybody has grout line issues in their shower. And if you think about, I don't know how many people, you just live by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you take 1 to maybe 2 showers a day, depending on what you're doing. I'm a family of 4. We take 4 to 6 showers a day, depending on who's doing what. So you always have a warm, wet environment. And what does everybody do with their grout line? They always grab a Tilex type product from CVS, Walmart, wherever you get it. And it's always bleach based, and you spray it on and you scrub it down, and it looks great for about a week. But with your daily repetitive showers and heat and humidity, it comes back every time. If it worked, you wouldn't need that product anymore. So just controlling your moisture in your air through your HVAC, heating, ventilation, AC unit, you'll do much better. Just leave the door open, put a fan in there if you have a box fan. If bathrooms being built in the 30s, it was probably a 5x5 bathroom, and you didn't have a lot of room to put a fan in there.
There wasn't any room. But where I live now, I don't have any mold problems at all. Like I shouldn't say that, because now they're all going to creep in. But I haven't had any trouble with mold at all here.
Yeah, in fact, your business partner called me about a month ago. He had a little small, tiny mold issue in his house, and I gave him a few things. You probably know about that. They were getting new flooring or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they were doing something. They were doing a bunch of stuff. Yeah. And I told you about that friend of mine who her very strange kind of hermit brother had passed away.
Oh,
left behind. I think it was like a double wide, mobile home, and it had been it left in really, really bad condition, and it was just completely taken over with mold. And your advice to her was basically, it's not worth saving.
And if I remember right, that was in Florida, right?
It was in Florida, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, with any mold issue, the only thing you control is the moisture. Mold grows in Sahara Desert and Antarctica.
Right.
And where we all live, primarily where we want to live, is between 65 and 75 degrees in our indoor environment. That is the prime mold growing temperatures. And unfortunately, your house, my house, Ruel's house, and the listeners' houses, we all have drywall. We all have wood framing. We all, we have the same stuff, and that's just prime mold food. So,
yeah.
So I hope I answered your question without boring you.
No. I'm fascinated by all that stuff, because I'm fascinated by things that I don't know about, And
that's why we're doing this podcast, because there's a lot of facets to people's businesses that I don't know. I have assumptions, and I'm usually wrong. You know what they say about making an assumption.
Yeah, so, I had a boss years and years ago that used to literally put that on the blackboard when he would have little pep sessions. He would repeat, it's like, yeah, Don, we know. It's you make an ass out of you and me.
Right. So we're coming to the part of the show. Typically, with my service guys that are actually going into homes, we talk about the funny stories, or sad, or emotional, or crazy, or whatever story. But I mean, you being mostly desk bound, it sounds like you're mostly desk bound. You're crunching numbers. You're looking at the business side of things. But knowing you and knowing what you deal with, I mean, you have to deal with some crazy, off the wall, stupid, maybe, I hate to say that, but just off the wall emails of people, complaining about something. I mean, what's that look like for you?
I have to say 95% of, more than that, like 98% of the feedback we get, and we get a lot of emails, and it's usually, I'm not quite sure how to change my subscription, or can you pause our subscription because we haven't been taking them every day, and now we're kind of stocked up. They're mostly kind of simple things. Every now and then we get, just weird stuff. Sometimes it's based on those weird funky products like the Vigor XL. I'll get those, and usually those people are even very nice, but sometimes they're really angry, and then I have to calm them down. I got an email, and I'll try to temper this, but I got an email, no explanation, and I know it was about that because the whole email said just dirty effing crooks, but they didn't sugarcoat it. They used the full word, just dirty effing crooks. It's like, okay. I think this is probably not who you think.
Oh, God.
But, every now and then we'll get something like that. Mostly, people will actually call us and give us really, good stories about, how our products help them, and people share that stuff. We've gotten some really inspirational ones. My favorite ever, and this one came like in the first year, was from a guy whose wife had been suffering, and I'm sure she still is. She has multiple sclerosis.
Oh, yeah.
And her doctors had told her, for years that her symptoms would be somewhat helped if she could take a multivitamin. And she was never able to take multivitamins because whatever she took, they always made her violently sick to her stomach, where she'd be just, like really, really sick, puking and the whole thing. And they were kind of at their wits' end. And, part of our pitch always was that, what makes some people, sick to their stomachs about vitamins, it is those fillers and those extra ingredients. So this guy and his wife, out of desperation, they said, well, they kind of heard about this. They tried it. And when he wrote to us, she'd been on it for like 3 months and felt better than she had in years, and, no bad side effects. And, that kind of story, just that keeps us going for, months on the high of that. There's nothing better.
Yeah, you can't be human and not be touched by that one. That one's
we've gotten a lot of that stuff.
And therein lies the service, right? You help improve people's lives. That's with products with great integrity.
A martyr here. We are in business to make money, but we do. The genesis of this really was to improve people's lives, and when we come out with any new product or refine, because we're not perfect. So if we ever find that some of our products can be improved, and we actually did improve one of our formulas. We changed one aspect of our multi-cap about a year and a half in. We'll do it. But we design all of that for, how is this going to help people?
And have you heard from them, that couple anymore, or was it just a one-off email that she was just finally able to?
Maybe I should have written back after a while and said, how are things continuing to go? But, we get something on that order where somebody, shares a great story with us about that. We got a lot of those stories last week in Seattle.
You did? From the meetup?
From the meetup, yeah. A lot of people were telling us stuff, particularly the magnesium and the ultrasalt. We got just incredible feedback on our B12. We have a few people who have told us that they've never felt the effects of, they knew that they were deficient in B12, and short of getting, the B12 shots, no oral B12 had ever, had an impact on them. And people, a number of people have told us over and over again that ours is the first time that they actually notice the difference, and not just feel the difference, but when they go and get their blood work done, their B12 levels are elevated, for the first time without having to take shots.
And you know what, Andy? That kind of reminds me, I don't know if I said this last week or not. I probably did, because it touched me. But service people, here's one thing that I've learned, okay? You and I are in the same business. And I say that because deep down, we both want to help people. I help people in their house and their air quality and that sort of thing. You help people with their health and their caffeine needs and that sort of thing. But you and I are, we're in this business because we like to help people. And last week I had I had an old man that was just, I have no idea. He was 85 plus. He was so lost, so confused. So he had spent thousands of dollars. He thought he had a pipe leak, Andy, and and I finally found it. I went in thinking it was just a quick $125. I'll give him 30 to 45 minutes. I'll be in and out, find his situation, and move on. I ended up giving that guy 5 hours of my time because I wanted to see this through. A, I like to solve a mystery, and B, because he was so confused. He thought he had a roof leak, and he brought a roofer in, and the roofer said, "Yep, you need a new roof." So he spent like $3,500 for a new roof. He didn't need to spend. He also had 4 plumbers. This leak has been going on for since May, so 5 months, let's say. And every hour on the hour, he goes in there, he sets a timer, he goes in, he mops up his floor because it just kept coming. It was such a slow leak, it just kept coming and coming and coming every hour on the hour. And then he'd wake up, or he'd go to bed, and he'd wake up, and it had leaked for 8 hours. And so he'd come out, and it had migrated to a floor drain through like 3 walls into the garage. Wow. It was just one of those things. Like, did I make money? No, but I wanted to see him right, and it's always touching when you can do the right thing. Yes, I lost money, but I went to bed not knowing if I got, if I was going to get paid. And Ruel, if I told you this last week, he did finally pay me a check. But anyway, it wasn't about the money. I just wanted to, after 4 plumbers, nobody could find it, and a roof job and everything else. It's like, I wanted to see this old man taken care of and done right and figured out. And it took 5 hours. I brought in 3 specialists, plus myself, and infrared cameras, moisture meters, borescopes. I brought in everything, and we finally found it. It took 5 hours, but that's what I've learned, hearing your story about the couple, she has MS, and, the vitamin, the multi-cap vitamin that you provide, just kind of like, it reminded me of this, because that's surely at the end of the day, we go to sleep knowing that we took care of somebody.
That's exactly. What I was just going to say, Lonnie, is when either one of us is sitting there on our deathbed, I hope many, many, many years from now, and we're lying there, reflecting on, the sum of our lives, the extra $500 or $1,000 or $5,000, whatever, from, a given event like that is not going to make a damn bit of difference in where we are and how we feel about ourselves as we're lying there breathing our last. But what will is, how did we conduct ourselves? How did we treat people? How do we help people? That's what's going to let you, take that last breath, feeling good about who you are and how you spent your life.
Yeah, I totally agree. Being in the service business, that's what my goal is. And that's your goal. I know you personally, and I know you professionally, that, you want to take care of people. You told us earlier that you swallowed, I've dealt, we've had a few glitches, no big deal. And you were real quick to replace and replenish and refund or whatever. Well, you haven't ever had to refund me, but I just know that I know you well enough.
Like anybody else, we will never claim to be perfect. We'll never claim that, we didn't make a mistake. What we will claim with 100% certainty is, we make a mistake, we'll fix it.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that. People that know me know that I'm a pretty straight shooter. Yeah, I'm a goofball, but people don't know. What they don't know is, well, what people don't know is I do actually have a tender heart, and that's kind of why we started this podcast.
I know that extremely well, and I hope this won't embarrass you, but when we were all out in Kansas City, and we all went out one night, and there was a young man who, bless his heart, got a little overly enthusiastic with the libations. Let's put it that way.
Well, he was pretty excited. If who you're talking about, he was pretty excited to meet you, Andy.
He was excited about the whole thing. And he was having a great time. He was a super nice guy, and he just, got a little carried away with the liquor. And you were unbelievable with him. You were so sweet and patient, and really helped see him through that. I was there. Trey was there. We were trying to do anything we could to get this guy safely home. And I know that he did finally get safely home, but not until we'd been through it with him. And I saw you in action, and you'd had a cocktail or two yourself, as had I. But man, you sprang into action, and there was nobody kinder than the way you hung in there with that guy.
And we tried everything too, didn't we, to get him to come to life. He was out. He was
in bad shape. We were really worried about him, and you were unbelievable.
Well, I appreciate you. You've never told me that, but I was just taking care of another dude. Just taking care of a person.
You were a rock star and a prince that night, I got to tell you.
Well, good. So, well, we're kind of slowing down the conversation. I could talk to you forever, Andy. Actually, I learn every Wednesday. I learn something from you. So you've talked more today than I've ever heard you talk ever.
Wow!
In all the times we've ever met. So you usually get throttled back by. Well, it seems like. Well, maybe you're not throttled back, but you don't talk as much on the Wednesday podcast and stuff. So I've enjoyed just talking to you, friend to friend. So.
Well, I've enjoyed it too. To both of you. Both of you.
Well, doesn't it feel like you're on the Johnny Carson show? I'm just the Ed McMahon sitting back on the couch, saying,
Yeah, and Andy, we haven't. Ruel and I have not figured out a good way to close out our show. So we it seems like we kind of stumble through it, and it sounds to me like we end awkwardly, but I have enjoyed this. And,
I've enjoyed it too.
We went really long, so I will definitely, might even throw your interview out into our group that we're into, even though we're not supposed to self-promote. But you've talked more and enlightened Ruel. Well, me, I can't talk about for Ruel, but you've enlightened me quite a bit today. So.
Good. And so, you have.
What's that?
And you've enlightened me.
Well, Ruel, do you want to try to close this out, and let's come up with a game plan to close this show out?
Absolutely. But before we go, let's ask Andy just one more time, because there was an attempt earlier in the show to sort of let the listeners know where they can find, Andy and the businesses where all those things are at. Can you do that, Andy?
Yeah, sure. It's purevitaminclub.com, exactly as it sounds, purevitaminclub.com, and purecoffeeclub.com. And if you have any questions for us, we have support lines at both. So, support at purecoffeeclub.com and support at purecoffeeclub, both of those. And we have 800 numbers, which you will find on our websites. And Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Pacific time, we answer those calls ourselves. And if it goes to voicemail any other time, we call back.
I love how you almost stumbled describing the websites for both companies. And I think, it happens a lot on my side. I don't know about you, Lonnie, if you've ever mixed up the two, but I've found myself talking about the vitamins when I'm looking at the coffee website.
Yeah, we do that all the time. We have our toll-free numbers. It's the same number, but one is 866 and one is 833, which are two of the the toll-free exchanges. And when a call comes in, we look at the phone and it'll tell us which one it is. And sometimes I'll screw that up, and it'll be a Pure Vitamin Club call, and I'll answer Pure Coffee Club, or the other way around. But
yeah. And either way, however folks manage to get connected,
That's right. It's still, and people are sometimes surprised and taken aback by the fact that, we pick up right away, and it's not either a call center in the Philippines or, a recording. It's just us because, we've got a small operation. It's one of the three
Andy,
of us that do it.
I know you well enough to know that people are also surprised that they get to talk to the Andy Schrieber, because you do have a cult following. You know that, right? You're like that, I don't know, you're a celebrity. You know that, right?
Which just, I can never wrap my head around that idea, and I don't really want to.
Well, you're a celebrity too, Lonnie, so shut up.
Yeah.
I'm telling the host to shut up on his own show.
Yeah.
That's all right. So, well, at this point, I'm going to beg for the 5-star reviews.
Yes.
Just leave us a 5-star review. Tell us that, you're a subscriber to Pure Coffee Club, Pure Vitamin Club. Just tell us that Ruel needs to talk more. Just leave a 5-star review. And with that, I do want to thank Andy Schrieber. We went a little long, but we've been dear friends for a while, and it's good to kind of catch up and talk about our day-to-day business. But this has been Lonnie Beecham with RestoreItRestoration.com and Ruel Abadam. And with that, I want to say get your life back to normal. But Andy, I want to say goodbye to you properly off the air. We we learned the hard way. We got to say that now because somebody hung up right at the end of this. So with that, thank you, and get your life back to normal.
So get your life back to normal. Lonnie with Restore It Restoration.
This is Lonnie Beecham with Restore It Restoration. I'm the first participant in this meeting. I'm waiting on a few friends to join us. Today, I got an E-list celebrity. Maybe we can talk about that in a little bit. Kind of fun talking to yourself on a recording. Our lines are immediately being recorded. So I just talk random nonsense. I did have a couple interesting jobs today that I looked at least. One was one of the worst bat guano situations I've ever seen. It's right up there, right at the entrance. There's about, 8 inches of bat droppings piled up past the ceiling joist. And when we were opening the hatch, I got it on video because I knew it was going to be bad. And just opening the hatch, bat turds were just dropping everywhere, just going crazy. That was always interesting. Love doing bat guano cleanup. Never the same day twice. People will call and ask how much is it to clean up bat droppings, and there's no cookie cutter pricing on it. Everything's custom because every roof line is different. Every height of the attic space. Obviously, if it's a 2-foot opening, then that's going to require dropping the ceilings because you can't get a man into a 2-foot opening safely without having to go through a bunch of extra hoops and OSHA requirements and confined space and getting out the air purified respiration equipment. Or if you got an attic space that has 20 feet above your head and a man can safely walk around up there, then obviously that pricing is a lot different than the pricing that only has 2-foot clearance in there. So there's no cookie cutter approach to looking at cleaning up bat guano. And what I do is, depending on how accessible the attic is, I may measure it from inside or I may measure it outside. And then we got to measure the slope, of the roof. So, if it's a 8-12 pitch or a 12-12 pitch or, 4-12 pitch or something like that, that all plays into how much juice I'll need to sanitize or disinfect the bat droppings and the wood framing left behind in the attic and, all the interior surfaces. So then I kind of base my pricing on a square foot price with some labor pricing in it. We also got to look at, is it a 2-story, 1-story house, 2, 3 stories, 4 stories? Is it an apartment building? I mean, how accessible is the insulation removal equipment. Do I need to run 300 feet of hose, or can I get by with only 100 foot of hose? And all that plays into it. So there's not a cookie cutter. It's so much of the square foot. It's anywhere from $4 to $12 a square foot to remove insulation out of an attic that's filled with bat guano. And no, you can't stop by and get a shovel full for your garden. It's all mixed in with insulation, and I'm not going to filter it out and sift it and hand pick it. And sometimes we go into these attic situations and there'll be like 4 piles that are 2-3 feet deep, just raw, pure bat droppings. Neat little tidbit I've learned is where that bat hangs at every day when they go to sleep during the day, that's their spot. They do not share with their brothers and sisters. All these colonies are all kind of, well, I don't know if they're all inbred or not. I've never got that intimate with the bats, but wherever it hangs, that's their spot. So, yeah, there's no, you get here first, so I'll go over there. They just know that this is this particular bat spot, so they hang in their spot, and that bat hangs in their spot, and they just do their bat business and sleep during the day and come out at night and eat all the mosquitoes and ticks and flying insects. If any listeners have any kind of questions that they'd like to ask me or Ruel or anybody, feel free to hang us online somewhere. We're accessible. My business, you can Google Restore It Restoration, Jeff City, water damage, Jeff City, mold damage, Jeff City, carpet cleaning, Jeff City. You can find me. But if you ever have a topic that you'd like to hear about, just touch base and let me know. One of the trickiest things that we run into on attic cleanouts for bat guano in my neck of the woods, we have a lot of houses built 60, 80, 100 years ago. And they had the old-fashioned knob and tube wiring. Who just joined the line? Is Ruel or Andy?
That's me.
Andy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
Good. I guess we're being recorded already.
We are.
Yeah.
So I should avoid all the dirty things I was going to say?
Well, you can. I was just kind of rambling for 10 minutes. Talking about my day, so you can say whatever you want. We'll either leave it in or cut it out. It doesn't matter. We do try to keep it semi-clean. This is more for a business, standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the whole goal is to, as people are Googling like Pure Vitamin Club, Pure Coffee Club, or whatever, then they'll see my name. It's all about kind of SEO. Plus, honestly, I'm enjoying learning about different facets of people's businesses.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And you're, what's that?
I love hearing about other people's businesses.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing. Our first guest was Mark Thompson, and then just a few other, 5, 6 other guests so far, and I'm fascinated, and I'm also a networker by trade. I mean, that's how I make my living, is networking. So I don't know. One of these guys might know somebody that can help me, or I can help them. So
yeah, look, I think it's great.
Hey guys.
Yeah. Hey, Ruel.
How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. Ruel, have you and Andy ever spoken together?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Okay. I didn't know if you all were just pure virtual friends, or at least talked on the phone.
We've talked a number of times.
Yeah.
Well,
we have.
I talk to Ruel more than my wife some days.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he doesn't give me so much. Yeah, he doesn't give me so much drama, so it's easier to talk to somebody without drama.
Yeah, we'll call him.
Well,
no drama, Abadam.
There you go.
No drama, Abadam.
And I just turned everything over to Ruel for all my IT stuff. I don't even know my passwords to nothing anymore. It's like I just forward to Ruel and was like, what's my password? What's my username? And he keeps track of it.
That's good to know, Lonnie.
Yeah. I do have my PIN number memorized, so you don't need to worry about my debit card information. But
because I was going to help you with that. I was going to suggest you give that to me.
Well, you want my routing number? That's a great idea. My mother's maiden name?
Yeah. Date of birth, mother's maiden name, all of it. Yeah.
Sure.
I would never abuse it.
You wouldn't get far. Some days you might get further than others, but some days you might not make it out of the neighborhood.
Uh-oh.
So today's going to be a little different, Andy, since you're not really a service provider, in homes. Most of the people I've talked to are, going in and out of people's homes and stuff, but you do offer a service, and thought I'd learn, ask you about some of your day-to-day behind the scenes stuff, what's a day in the life of Andy Schrieber, and then give you a chance to ask me or Ruel any kind of IT or water, damage restoration questions that you may have, and then grab a mailbag story or so, and we'll just chat and go that route. How's that sound?
It all sounds good. I'll go with the flow. I'll let you guys lead.
Gotcha. All right. Well, this week, Ruel, you got to do the official introduction.
I do. Okay. Sounds good to me.
I didn't tell you.
Yeah, I suspected that would be the case.
This is another Coffee with Heavy Cream production.